Let's talk about references. Now, I will often see on almost every CV, especially sent in on TikTok, almost every, I mean on the TikTok lives that I do, almost every CV will have right at the bottom references as a title, and then references are available on request. I worry about that simply because it's obvious. Yes, of course they are, right? You saying so, I don't know how that's helping me, right? Use that space for something else. So by all means, you can say references available on request. Yes, because if we care, if we proceed, we're going to ask, usually. Not all the time, but usually. Sometimes some organizations are asking for references just so that you've given them and they don't check them. Other times, you'll be asked to provide references because the agency or someone will phone or go and verify and speak to, depending on how the type of role. I have seen it where individuals put down references and then they have literally, so-and-so, the detail, and then they put the reference, essentially, to whom it may concern, Ewan is a really nice guy, do hire him, right, or whatever. Other times I see it where people put down references and then they have their two referees' details, phone numbers. That's okay. In practice, I have never seen a CV rejected because of references. Right? No. So in my view, I don't think it's that important. And I think when you're saying references available, I think you're just wasting time. Yeah, obviously. Right. And that's why when I see it, I go, yeah, because that we're going to ask you anyway. Right? If our policy is references, and it may be 2 references, 3 references, whatever, right? It may be a professional and a personal, or whatever, right? Okay. Every company has a slightly different approach. So I don't think your CV is ever going to get rejected because you haven't filled in references. Because that's usually the next stage, right? We are making this job opportunity, this job offer to you, subject to satisfactory reference checks. Please send the reference checks, and John here or Julie is going to go and phone them, right? Or go and check them. So I don't think you have to include it. If you want to feel comfortable, say references available on request. Fine, right? But usually that's the next stage, and that's the exciting bit, right? That's the bit we want to get to, because that means the CV's worked, right? Some I see very organized and they have the referees in there, right? With, as I say, with phone numbers or email addresses. Sometimes the whole detail is in there as well, right? That can be effective, but often, just because it's written down doesn't make it so. So we're going to have to phone them anyway. We're going to have to go and speak to them anyway, or whatever our process or policy is for requesting reference, we're going to do that anyway. Right, so you putting it down on a piece of paper isn't really helping me. Great, because it shows it's there. I don't think it's a big deal. So give some thought to that. Now, related to that, LinkedIn. LinkedIn can sometimes function very, very helpfully as a reference or referees from the recommendations section on LinkedIn. And let me show you what I mean. I am going to bring up a browser. Here's LinkedIn, okay? Here's my profile. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. Right. Here we go. Recommendations. So this is something to think about, right? Asking for recommendations from your colleagues. I'm not suggesting that this will replace references, but for some companies it's good enough. And this is where your peers, people who've been working with, people who've been reporting to you and so on, will say what it's been like working with you, right? And that can be really powerful. Okay, so that's something you'll hear me if you come to my TikTok lives. When I'm talking through LinkedIn, I am absolutely hammering LinkedIn recommendations. Why? Because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when a reference check isn't really needed, or there's a policy but it's not followed, or whatever, or yes, we should check references. Often what people do is have a look at your LinkedIn, see the recommendations and go, oh yeah, right. Now, they probably, depending on policy, right, should be phoning, or however they do it. One of the difficult realities is nowadays, if you phone or if you contact a company to say, and we have a reference on Ewan. So for example, can you contact the bank I worked at? Will they give you a reference? Well, for liability reasons, or a whole lot of different legal reasons, they will usually say absolutely nothing. Because they want to say, oh no, he's great. If they say that and then you're not, are they liable? Right. So often you'll simply see, if you do contact a company, or if someone is contacting a company to find out what you're like, they're not going to get that data. The company will simply say, we confirm Ewan worked here between those dates. Oh, thank you very much. And was employed as a chief digital officer. Thank you. That's it. No opinion, no perspective, no further detail. Right. So that's where the headhunter or the agency or whoever they're using, the company's using, that's why they will often then go and look for individuals that you are connected to, and they'll go and do their research. Now, for a lot of my senior roles, I didn't provide references. That's strange, but not. In that what the headhunter has done is they've gone and asked about me. Now, what I mean there, right, quite difficult, because they go and speak to people. So I said I worked at RBS, so they go and speak to some people at RBS and say, hey, the people that they're connected to, right? Or sometimes they might not be directly connected, but they know someone who knows. They'll phone. They'll contact that person and say, right, Ewan, just wanted to, what's your opinion of him? Now, often individuals are far more likely to give their perspectives, right, rather than companies. And so that's often what's happening. So for quite a few of my senior roles, I didn't provide references. They went and found them. They, being the company or the agency or someone, right, they went and satisfied themselves directly. I had no influence in it. So me providing references was not a factor. No, I could not provide references. They were not going to listen to my supplied references. Instead, they went and did their own research. So there's a slightly different dynamic there. So if in doubt, by all means put down available on request, shows willing. Otherwise, I don't think it's a big deal if you don't have it.